what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the NFL Week 4 edition of WST Winners, presented by our friends at Coolbet Canada, here on the Winnipeg Sports Talk channel. Andrew Paterson, just able to be joined by our pals Pat Gregoire and Jake Bolin Moss for our picks against the spread, our favorite props, our touchdown scorer, and a survivor pick for those of you that are still alive. We'll get to what happened last week in the NFL in just a moment, but let's start things off by reminding all of you, if you haven't played a Coolbet yet, what are you waiting for? Check out some of those competitive lines in the business, great promos, and of course, all of our boosted parlays you can find in the combo cards and in the exclusives. If you haven't played a Coolbet before, use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus on your first deposit, up to $200. Let's bring in the boys. Jake Bolin Moss, Pat Gregoire. Fellas, it is week 4. Some incredible heartbreak last week, which will be touched on. But this is around the time we hope that we've got enough information. We can be a little bit more consistent and maybe get the spread picks on the same level as the props, which have been awesome so far. Patty, what's up?
What's up is my bankroll for props. What's down is my spreads. I can't pick a spread to save my life right now, but the props have been keeping me alive. It's the only thing keeping food on my table right now. So I don't know if we're going to have to suspend me from spreads. Just one last week. Literally, I mean, that crazy fourth quarter for the Chargers is the only thing keep me from a goose egg. So, but Huss, like you said, got to keep positive vibes, got to keep rolling on to the next week. And looking at the board this week, feeling a little bit better. I think I'm going to have a better week this week.
Jake, you were 2-2 last week, 1-1 on the props. I mean, overall pretty good. And now we head in. How are you feeling as we approach week 4 and the board for the National Football League?
Yeah, the board scares me a bit this week. I'm not going to lie to you. Usually, a few will jump out at me. I'll dive a little deeper and I get a couple more and I'll throw together, my 4 spread picks, but nothing was really catching my eye. So I had to dig a little deeper. Hopefully, sometimes the best weeks you have are the ones where you don't absolutely love the board and, you're kind of just going off a bit of vibes, a bit of, where's the public money going, fading the public a little bit. So yeah, I mean, it's funny. We've been so good on the props. You mentioned Huss. And I don't think we've yet to hit a prop parlay. It feels like we always end up having that one wrong prop in there. So hopefully this week we stay hot on the props, but we find the 3 that end up winning at the end of the day.
Yeah, Brian Thomas Jr. is on the list because we as a group are 5-1 with our props. But he did nothing again. He's on the suspended list here on this program. He's on the suspended list on my fantasy.
Until we could start betting on drops from Brian Thomas Jr., we won't be making any more picks for him. Done. Suspended for sure.
So, just one more time, I'm trying to put this in the rearview mirror. Maybe the worst beat ever in my gambling history. The Rams plus 3.5. And at that point, guys, everything was going so well. Both of my props had hit. The Vikings, who I had at -3, were winning by 45 or something like that. And the Rams were up 19 in Philly, getting plus 3.5. They had 2 field goals blocked. They gave up a couple touchdowns. And then with the winning field goal there, it gets blocked and run back for a touchdown on the final play of the game to not only lose, which they would have lost if the ball had just gotten out of bounds, they would have still covered. So that's one for the ages. I've been trying to run from it all week, but now we face it head on. As we mentioned, we were 5-1 on the props, and we hit the house callers, our touchdown parlay. So let's keep that going, get a little bit of better fortune on these spread picks, and we'll be in very, very good shape. Guys, let's get right into it. Jake, considering you had the best record last week, why don't you tee it up with your first 2 spread picks? Of course, the lines all from our friends at Coolbet.com. And just a quick note, stay on top of Coolbet all weekend long, you golf fans. Ryder Cup is there. Tons of markets for the Ryder Cup, which will be all over as well. It's going to be a very, very fun Sunday. Jakey, where do you want to start it off for the spread picks this week?
Yeah, I'm going to squeeze one in here just under our odds threshold. And our boy Connor isn't going to love this, but I'm taking the Jags plus 3.5, minus 119 right now. Listen, I think this Bosa injury is going to have a big effect on the Niners, let alone, the rest of their team being pretty banged up. I know Purdy, it sounds like he could be back this week. He's practicing with the ones, as Connor let us know. Jennings, I think, missed practice yesterday. They've been sitting McCaffrey and Williams for rest. Listen, I think this Niners team is just going to be banged up all season. They are 3-0. I mean, you can't apologize for your record, but I think, we're underestimating this Jacksonville team. I think they've been pretty solid. I know Patty, I can see Patty off screen. He's not sold on Jacksonville just yet, but they beat a division rival last week, found a way to get it done. 2-1. I even think think back to that Bengals game they ended up losing. They probably should have won that one. A few of those bad drops from our boy BTJ. Things could have looked a lot different. They could be 3-0 as well going into San Fran. So listen, I like Kyle Shanahan. Sorry. I like the 49ers, but I think at 3.5, the number I really want with the hook there, I think Jags can keep it tight this weekend out on the West Coast.
All right. So first up, Jags plus 3.5. I'm a little surprised that number isn't bigger, to be perfectly honest. I mean, especially with Brock Purdy, playing with the ones expected to play, I wouldn't be surprised if that number is at 4 or 4.5 if we get confirmation that Purdy actually is playing. I mean, the Jags have been the Jags so far this year. And as I said, if that bum Brian Thomas Jr. passes, maybe they'd be doing a little bit better. But Jags plus 3.5 on the board. Jake, what's pick number 2?
I'm taking the Commanders. It looks like Jaden Daniels is probably going to go this week. He was a full participant in practice today, cleared by the doctors to play. Even with Mariota, I like the way the Commanders looked last week. Their one loss this season came against a pretty good Green Bay team. Obviously, we saw what happened with Green Bay in Cleveland last week. I think that's more of a testament to that Cleveland defense as opposed to how, suspect that Green Bay is. So I'm going to take the Commanders against the Falcons. I think and we'll see after this week. I've had a pretty good read on the Falcons, whether it's backing them or fading them. I had them on the Monday nighter. They ended up cashing. I had the Panthers last week +5. They won in a shutout 30-0 against the Falcons. I'm going to back a road favorite in the Commanders at -1 this week. This is a funny stat that has been bounced around. It's kind of silly. I know it doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you're making these bets, but I thought I'd put it out there. In Michael Penix's career, 6 starts, he has not won a game where the opposing team has scored over 7 points. So when his defense has held a team to 7 or less, they've won. And any other time, so in his 4 losses, the team has scored more than 7 points. So it should just take about 10 points for the Commanders to get this done, according to that stat. But yeah, just a funny thing there. And then the other thing I had was don't be afraid to bet the road favorite. 14-6 this season, straight up for road faves. So there's a reason a team's a favorite, and I'm going to back the Commanders -1 this week in Atlanta.
Yeah, that line, you're just laying 1 with the -110. If you want to take the Commanders straight up money line, it's only -116. So, if you do like the Commanders, we're always picking whatever the spread is, but you might just want to jump on that one to win by 1. And, the difference between the -1 to a money line parlay, not too far. All right, so Jags +3, Commanders -1 for Jake. Patty, what's first up for you as we try to get it back on track against the spread?
Well, I know you're probably not going to want to hear this team's name, so plug your ears for a second here. I'm getting back on the Rams, but this time to cover the 3.5 against the Colts. And I get it. The Colts, Danny Dimes, Indiana Jones, they're the belle of the ball to start this year. But let's be quite frank. They have beaten up on really, really bad teams. They beat up the Dolphins. They beat up the Titans. And the only solid team that they played in the Broncos, they probably should have lost that game as it is. On the flip side, we don't need to rehash what happened to the Rams. But I think McVay is going to have these guys ready to go in a huge bounce back spot. I think this is maybe where a little dose of reality does set in for the Colts. I think the Rams are just the better team. 3.5 would have loved this to be inside the football number at 3, but I just think that the Rams are going to come out with their hair on fire. They're embarrassed. 19 points they blew against the Eagles. So I think Danny Dimes is going to have a little bit of a harder time against this Rams defense. And for me personally, bounce back is going to be a theme that I have, not just for me personally, but some of the teams that I'm betting. And I think that's a good transition into pick number 2, and a team that absolutely just demolished me in so many different facets on my spreads pick, on my teasers, on our money line parlay, and even my survivor pick. The Packers going down to the Browns as an 8-point. I think it got down to 7.5-point favorite. Well, I'm getting them at a 7 spot as well. The only thing here is I actually think the Browns are a pretty decent team. The team that they're going up against is not, especially defensively. They are a joke, and that is the Dallas Cowboys. Let's not forget, fellas, as well, this is a Micah Parsons revenge game. I really think that the Packers are going to bounce back here, come out firing. And when you just look at what look at what the Cowboys have done so far this season defensively, Caleb Williams looked like Patrick Mahomes last week. I think Love is going to have his way with this defense. Parson is going to give Dak Prescott all sorts of fits. And let's not forget, Prescott's going to be without CeeDee Lamb. This could get ugly fast for this Cowboys team. So I will take the Packers to cover the 7. I think it could be 77, to be quite honest. This could be a big blowout here.
You know what? We'll actually give you 6.5 on this one. Right now, it's minus 116 on 6.5. And I guess coming off that, by the way, it was funny. You were saying you probably don't want to hear this team's name right now. And I thought you were going to be picking the Ravens because they've got this big game against the Chiefs. And then you mentioned the Rams, and I almost just threw up in my mouth. I don't mind the pick, though. I don't mind the pick. I mean, one thing I'll say about Indy, as much as you're right, they should have probably lost that game against Denver. The fact was that they put up, I think, 29 points in that game, which was a little surprising. But everything that Danny Dimes has done so far this year has been surprising for the Pack. Listen, I'll just echo it, considering you've also taken it. I'm on the Packers minus 6.5 in Dallas. And I usually like taking the home dogs. I mean, I think what is happening in Dallas is about to get really, really bad. And listen, Jordan Love loves playing at Jerry World. He and the Packers, for that matter. I mean, if you look at the best 3 Cowboys teams in the last 15 years, have all been knocked out of the playoffs by the Packers. It was Jordan Love and the Packers that went in and absolutely decimated the Cowboys, and basically it led to the end of the Mike McCarthy era. And they're going to be in a very ornery mood after losing to the Cleveland Browns last week. And guys, just for a second, just before we get into more of these picks, I'm just thinking more about last week. There were 4 blocked field goals. First of all, there were 3 blocked field goals, I think, in about 5 minutes of real time. And if you add in the first Rams block, I'm not sure that there's ever been that more action with blocked field goals ever on an NFL Sunday. Never mind. I mean, the Rams had 2 blocked, and of course, Jake had that beautiful backdoor cover, almost a straight up win with the Jets. Yeah. By the way, Aaron Glenn,
so good
on the sideline as a coach. I mean, it's too bad they didn't win the game because this is already legendary. It's getting memed out the yin yang. But yeah, the blocked field goals there was some seriously atrocious special teams last week. Another reason why I like the Pack is that Jerry Jones has said it would be inappropriate to do a Micah Parsons tribute video at the game on the weekend. So I have a feeling that he will take care of that himself. I hope Dak has his head on a swivel, and I hope that Cowboys defense is ready for a long, long day at the office. I think the Pack win this one by double digits. Give me Green Bay minus 6.5. My second pick, I'm going to go back to the well with the one team that helped me last week without any suspense whatsoever, is the Minnesota Vikings. And, we were handicapping that game Cincinnati, Minnesota, both without their starting quarterbacks. Really, it came back down to, I think that the Minnesota Vikings were a better team in almost every aspect of the NFL outside of the high-powered offense of the Bengals that obviously wasn't there. Browning is a pick machine. And I mean, they did it. The defensive performance of the Vikings really kind of iced it early, but we saw Carson Wentz actually be somewhat serviceable as a backup quarterback, and our guy Jaron Mason made the most of his opportunity as the bell cow, if you will, and ran all over Cincinnati. Listen, the Pittsburgh Steelers, I know they won last week in New England, and we'll get to the Patriots, I think, in a minute, Jake's team. They don't have right now any sort of deep passing attack. I think Aaron Rodgers' average pass is 6.5 yards. And the Viking defense, I think, is able to put this team on its back for a few weeks while they figure things out offensively, whether it's JJ McCarthy coming back from injury or Carson Wentz getting set. They've got the special teams. And here's the other thing. This is a very experienced team playing in Europe. The Vikings have been there 4 times. They are 4-0. They've been preparing for this all off season because the Vikes are actually there for 2 weeks. They're playing in Dublin, and then they're moving over, and I believe Tottenham is where their game is next week. So I think there's a little bit of familiarity, both from the organization, the coaching staff, and the team to playing in some of these strange places. So the fact that it's a 2.5-point spread right now, I like the Vikings to win this game by a field goal. Give me Minnesota minus 2.5 in the curtain jerker on Sunday morning. 8:30 a.m. for us in the Peg, 9:30 for you out east for the kickoff from Dublin, Minnesota, and Pittsburgh. The jury's still out on the Steelers, despite the start that they have had. All right, we're all 2 picks in. We need 2 more. Jake, back to you for picks 3 and 4.
Yeah, well, listen, I'll echo some of Patty's remarks earlier. I'm on the Rams as well, minus 3.5. I'm just not quite sold on this Colts team. I think the win against the Broncos was impressive. I think their other 2 wins are expected. You beat the Miami Dolphins, who we know are not a great football team. You beat the Tennessee Titans, who we know for sure aren't a good football team. Yes, they are 3-0, but the Rams are in a great spot for a bounce back. That's a tough loss last week. I was on them with you, Huss. It wasn't part of my 4 picks on this show, but I was backing them. I couldn't believe that cover got blown late. So I'm going to back them again, give them another chance here, McVay and Stafford. And we talk a lot about McVay and Stafford as those 2 big pieces, along with Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. But that defense has really been a big part of the story here for the Rams. And I mean, they were just as close to being 3-0 as they are 2-1. I think they lead the league in sacks. They're tied for the league with the Broncos, and they're just doing it on like an 18th highest pressure rate. So, they're not bringing a ton of pressure, but they're still getting to the quarterback. I think if they can contain Daniel Jones, they can find a way to cover this spread at 3.5. And then this one, I smell something fishy here, gentlemen. I smell a rat. And I usually don't do this, but in what world should the New England Patriots be favored by 5 points to anyone at this point? We saw how terrible they were taking care of the football last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The offense looked really good, got into the red zone a ton, could not finish a drive. Fumbles on the goal line, interceptions in the red zone. Real ugly, ugly stuff. So the easiest pick of the week seems like the Carolina Panthers. That's why I'm taking the New England Patriots at -5. Because, when everyone zigs, you say, oh, Panthers won 30-0 last week. New England couldn't hold on to the football. No. We swing it right back the other way. New England takes care of the football this week. They win by a touchdown at home to the Carolina Panthers. So I'm taking the Pats, my Pats this week, -5.
Love it. Rams -3.5, New England -5. Pat, to you we go with picks 3 and 4 for your 4-pack.
Pick number 3, I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm with the Vikings as well. Love the undefeated in Europe stat. That one sold me there. But to be quite honest, I just think when I know with Carson Wentz, it's still wild that in the year of our Lord 2025, we saw Carson Wentz out there. He didn't look too bad. I just think, Coach K is, he's a guy that's just able to, he's the quarterback whisperer. And I think the way that defense is built, they do a really good job of scheming things up. So I like the Vikings in that game, but the one that I like the most, and I kept it for last. They killed me last week. I'm now hopping on the other side. Browns plus 9.5 against the Lions. This Browns defense, man, is unbelievably elite. Like when you look at what they've been able to do through the first 3 weeks, the fact that they're 1-2 is crazy because they held Joe Burrow and the Bengals under 250 yards. They held the Ravens to under 250 yards. Mind you, I know they still gave up 47 points, but when you look at the way that game unfolded, it was turnovers, just block punts, just complete ineptitude on special teams and offense that ended up really costing them. They actually outgained both teams in week 1 and week 2, and they held Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry to under 35 rushing yards. Like this defense is an absolute problem. And then look what they did to the Packers, 230 yards of offense. I know the Lions, especially coming off that game on Monday night, they look so deadly. They look exactly where they picked up last year. I just don't know if they're going to be able to put up the numbers against this elite Browns defense. The only thing that scares me is how many points is Joe Flacco and this Browns team going to be able to put up. I don't know how many they're going to be able to put up, to be quite frank, but with how scary this front is getting pressure on quarterbacks, we see Jared Goff when he's got time and has space to make plays. That's where he's going to come up big. We have seen against teams that can get pressure on the quarterback, that's where Jared Goff starts to see ghosts. That's where he makes those mistakes. Not very mobile inside that pocket. So I just think 9.5 is way too many points in a game here. I know you could easy argue that this is a trap spot for the Browns. Everyone looking at the Browns coming off probably their biggest win in how many years. I actually think it's on the flip side. It's a trap spot because everyone's going to be buying so high on this Lions team after what they did to a very good Ravens team. I'm buying the defense here. I think the Browns are going to be able to keep this within the 10.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Browns, they certainly deserve to cover. I mean, Green Bay in most cases probably makes that field goal and they lose, but they lost because of their own ineptitude of their kicker in week number 1 against the Bengals. So kind of what comes around goes around over the course of a long season. Really impressed with Cleveland's draft. Like we spent so much time talking with Shadur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel. Those are the only rookies that haven't made an impact so far in the Cleveland Browns lineup. So some good things are happening. It might just take a little longer, and eventually they're going to need to find a quarterback. All right, to me. And you know what, Jake? I echo everything you just said about the New England Patriots. That was the first pick that I had down on it, even when it was minus 5.5. I think that Patriots are better than they've shown. I think they probably should have won that game against Pittsburgh. Part of the reason why I'm not convinced in the Steelers going into this game against the Minnesota Vikings. And I think that the Panthers on the road are a very different team. And listen, they caught a team that they know very well in the division on a bad day, made them pay. But this wasn't like Bryce Young all of a sudden just emerged as the guy that they expected they were getting at the number 1 overall pick. There's still a lot of work to do in Carolina. And if I know one thing, Mike Vrabel is going to have a strong week of practice. I think they'll be better with the fundamentals. And if they can just take care of the football and not give the Panthers the opportunities they gave the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think they win this one comfortably. So I'm with you on New England -5. And again, I'm usually taking at least 2 dogs, but this week I just like some of the numbers on some of the favorites. And the other one is a game that we haven't started with. If I lose a pick, I would love it to be this one. Preferably that they lose outright, but the Chargers is 6.5-point favorites in New York against the Giants. Unless Jackson Dart in his first ever game is the second coming of Super Bowl Eli Manning, not regular season Eli Manning, but Super Bowl Eli Manning, I have a very hard time seeing how this Giants team keeps within a field goal of the Chargers. I mean, they didn't do it last week against a decimated Chiefs team, and now they've got a quarterback that's going up against a very, very good defense that hasn't given up much of anything this year, and an offense led by Justin Herbert that's been cooking as well as any in the league so far this year. I think the plan for the Giants was to get through this week and then start Dart next week with a much more favorable opponent. But when you saw what Russ did on Sunday night against the Chiefs, there's just no way that you could roll him back out. They're not going to go to Jameis Winston for 1 week and then to Dart. So it's Dart time in New York. I'm actually pretty high on him, both from a fantasy perspective and, maybe he does turn into be a really strong quarterback. But, I mean, you're giving me the Chargers roster versus the Giants roster and Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh versus Jackson Dart and Brian Daboll. Don't care that the game's at MetLife. Give me the Chargers at -6 for my final pick, LAC -6.5. So I am on the Packers -6.5, Vikings -2.5, Patriots -5, Chargers -6.5. Pat's taking favorites too. Rams -3.5. We're both on the Packers and Vikes. And Cleveland, Cleveland's an underdog. Cleveland is not a 9.5-point favorite on the road.
No.
And Jake has got the underdog Jags at 3.5. Washington, basically a pick 'em -1. Rams and the New England Patriots. And we do have some good agreement for a
the spread parlay comes together real well.
Real easy.
Like it's going to be a double pick for me and Patty, double pick for you and Patty, double pick for you and I. I think it's already done. Just got to decide what number we want for the Pats, whether it's 4.5 or 5.5. I'm fine with the 4.5. But
I think exactly where we go. Well, we can confirm that at the end. Let's get to the prop. This has been while you might want to be tailing our earlier picks with trepidation, considering the first 3 weeks, the one place where we have come through big time is the props. Another 5-1 week last week, with only Brian Thomas Jr. Denying us the perfect run and the parlay. Jakey, you are first up with the props. What who are you on an over or an under basis for this weekend?
Yeah, listen, I don't usually like doing this, but I texted you guys and I said, what if I just have two props from the same game? And, we got the go ahead from Huss. So
two different picks.
I'm rolling a double Sunday night football prop. I'm starting with my guy, Matthew Golden. He was my long shot offensive rookie of the year guy early in the season. Hasn't been a hot start by any means, but when you put first round stock into a guy, you expect he's going to have to be a big part of your offense. I think it's a great spot for Golden, in the primetime lights to kind of have his moment, come into his own. Still no Jaden Reed there. I think slowly but surely Jordan Love's starting to trust him a bit more. He caught all 4 of his targets last week for 50+ yards. And the Cowboys, frankly, have just been giving up a ton of yards. You look at that New York game, they had 2 receivers go over 100 yards. In Robinson and Neighbors. Also had Slayton go over that 40. The number's 41.5 for Golden, by the way. So over that 42-yard mark, Slayton went over that. 3 receivers last week. 1 was a running back, but Swift, Odunze, and Burden all went over 42+ last week. And the Bears, I think that Cowboys secondary is not pretty right now. Trayvon Diggs did not practice. I saw yesterday, so we'll see what his status is, but then they struggle to get pressure on the quarterback as well, which is funny considering they got their guy going into Jerry's World and Micah Parsons for the Pack. So I'm riding with Matthew Golden over 41.5 receiving yards, and then I'm going to the other side for receptions prop, and I'm taking Jake Ferguson over 6.5 receptions at even money. This is more just like who gets to share of the catches now that CeeDee Lamb's down. I think we're going to see a lot of George Pickens. I believe that. But, when it comes to the short yardage, dink and dunk, check down player, who's the guy? It's Jake Ferguson. He's a big part of that offense, especially when a guy like Lamb is down. So, look at his last 2 weeks. He's double-digit targets, 12 and 14 in the last 2 weeks. I know they're going to want to push the ball down the field, but, when it's time to check it down, try to get a first down, Jake Ferguson seems like he's going to be the guy. So heavy dose of Ferguson and Pickens. I'm going to take Ferguson receptions over 6.5.
I like it. Something tells me those guys might appear in a Sunday night combo card over at Coolbet. Patty, how do you follow up a 2-0 prop week?
It's tough, but I normally like to spread the love around. Like I try to pick a game maybe that I don't have anything invested into spreads, because if the prop goes south, that probably means the cover is also going to go south. But I love this game so much, I had to go with it. And this is Jordan Love over 230.5 passing yards, because I talked about it, how bad the Cowboys defenses, how bad their secondary is. I think that this is an opportunity. I won't spend too much time, really just burying this Cowboys team, but I'm going to have to spend a little bit of time on it, because nobody gives up more passing yards through the air than the Cowboys through the first 3 weeks. 288 yards on average, passing yards given up against this Cowboys team. They've also allowed the third most fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks during that stretch. Now, I know Love, maybe through first 3 games, not the most gaudy, eye-popping numbers, but let's not forget, Caleb Williams looked like Patrick Mahomes last weekend, throwing for 298 yards, 4 passing TDs. Jordan Love is a better quarterback than Caleb Williams. I think we can all agree on that. I really think that this, again, could be an absolute blowout spot for the Packers. And I think Love, you mentioned it, Huss, he likes playing inside this building. He loves going into Jerry's World and sending Cowboys fans home pissed off. I think he's going to do that once again. The next one, this is just me picking a spot that for whatever reason, the odds makers are just not changing the odds. They're not recognizing this. I don't know why they aren't, but until they do, I'm going to keep cashing these tickets. Baker, the touchdown maker, uses his legs every single week, 3 weeks in a row now, fellas, over rushing yards. This week it's 7.5. Last week it was 7.5. He finished with 44 rushing yards. The week before that, 33 rushing yards, 39 rushing yards. He is sailing over these totals 5 straight games if you go back to last year. It's not just this year. And if you go back to the last 10 games, it's over 8. Baker Mayfield loves to get it done through the air, also with the legs. But for whatever reason, the odds makers, they're not recognizing this. I'm going to take advantage of it, take the over 7.5, 17.5.
Yeah, listen, I mean, it's no designed runs for Baker, but he's just such a competitor and a baller. He tries to make something. And if there's one thing you can count on, the Philly, I mean, he may get sacked 4 or 5 times, but there'll be a time where he's running for his life and he goes for 8 yards and boom, cash the ticket.
And that's the thing, Huss. Like, I didn't even bring that up. The fact that, and I know a lot of people will look at it, maybe that's what the numbers and the projections show, is that he is going to be under duress a lot this game, and he is going to feel pressure from that elite pass rush that the Eagles have. Me personally, with a guy that's so athletic like Baker, I think that plays into this prop, because maybe he only runs once or twice, but 1 or 2 of those are going to be where he gets out of trouble and runs for a first down and more. Every single game so far, he has had at least one run for over 12 to 15 yards in a big crucial moment. You talked about it. He is a gamer. I think that's going to happen. And again, I just don't understand. I get it. You're never going to set a rushing total for 30.5 yards for Baker Mayfield, but 17.5 just seems far too low for a guy that is really putting up good numbers on the ground.
I love that one. All right, to my 2 props, and again, I got to follow up 2-0. I'm going to start off with this Bills-Saints game. And I mean, the Saints, I don't even know what to say about them. If you guys are familiar with Hold the Mayo, a New Orleans guy that does a call-in, his own call-in afterwards. I mean, it is such high-level comedy, the maniacs that call in afterwards and what they're saying about the Saints. But their expectations were low, but not that low from last week. And listen, now they've got the Bills. Now, I'm not touching the spread, which I think is at 16 right now. But let's face it. I mean, this is going to be a game that, at least for early on, the stars on the Bills eat. Now, if it's 38-3 in the second quarter, like it was last week, maybe these guys don't play a lot in the second half. But I'll say one thing about the Buffalo Bills. If you believed in the Bills and realized that the receiving group in Buffalo is not really that established. I mean, Dalton Kincaid's been really good. You can kind of count on him. Very serviceable tight end for fantasy. But to me, outside of Josh Allen, James Cook is the guy that is making it happen. And I was expecting a number. And to be honest, I think maybe the reason why this number is only 76.5 rushing yards is that they think there's a good chance that he'll have his helmet off in the fourth quarter. But man, he breaks big runs, and he's going to get his. I love James Cook over, what did I get it at? 76.5 rushing yards on the ground in that Bills Saints game. And wouldn't be surprised if that one's in the bag by halftime and they can let him chill and let the young guys and the backups go in the second half. Now, there was a bunch of other ones that I thought of, but considering that I did not mention the Chiefs-Ravens game in our spread picks, although, I mean, take it for what it's worth. I mean, I'm riding with my guy Mahomes at -2.5 as a home dog. I'm going to go to Patrick Mahomes for my prop bet. Now, part of me was thinking about I'm just going to pull up what the rushing number is here, because much like Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes has gone over that rush total in every game. I mean, going into the third week of the season, the first 2 weeks, he was the leading quarterback rusher in the entire league. Now, for the game on Sunday, over 25.5 rushing yards is the number at -119. So that's certainly something. I mean, I think that, right now, until they get their full complement of receivers, he's needing to do way more of it himself. But the line is blocking for him a little bit more. He's had more time to throw. And when he did, he threw it deep. We saw the 2 shots to Tyquan Thornton, the second one that went in with that amazing picture of him putting up the one afterwards. Big fan of the Usos and Roman Reigns, I hear. But I'm going to roll with Patrick Mahomes passing yards. This is a game that this team needs to have. I think Kelsey has a bigger game than he's had as of late. You're going to get hopefully Worthy back in. And I think Thornton is really sort of finding his spot in this Chiefs offense. And again, the Ravens defense, we all think of the Ravens defense and think of Ray Lewis or these groups. I mean, did anybody watch Monday Night Football? Now, the Chiefs aren't coming with anywhere close to a running attack than the Detroit Lions have, granted. But this is a game so big. Mahomes always comes up huge in these games. I think he'll be slinging it. His passing total for the game on Sunday is 238.5 yards. Give me Mahomes over 238 passing yards for my final prop. So I'll just put that down. Mahomes, Cook. I think for the parlay, I think Cook is maybe the safer play just because of the Saints. But we can do that in a moment when we kind of dive into our parlays.
Now, Huss, not to open up a can of worms here, because we didn't really talk about that game from a spread perspective, but I believe this is only the third time in Patrick Mahomes' Chiefs career that he is a home underdog. Did I see that correct?
The second time was the Philly game 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and the second time this year. I mean, just even home, road, or away. Like I'm pretty sure Mahomes' record as a dog is like 7-5, and that's outright, not even just against the spread. It took a lot out of me to not have the Chiefs to cover that game. It was a stay away spot for me, but I think come game time, I have a hard time seeing this Chiefs team, being at that point and not covering the spread.
Tough spot for the Ravens,
really tough, man.
Coming off of that Detroit game on Monday night, and then you turn it around on Saturday against a hungry Chiefs team that will be getting some help back as they await for Rashee Rice to get let out of a proverbial NFL jail and join the team. All right, we got to do some TD scores. This is where we excelled last week. The props were 5-1, 3-0, along with our touchdown parlay, which cashed. Jake, who's cooking for you in the touchdown category this week?
Yeah, I'm always hunting around for some good storylines. I'm trying to figure out, who hasn't gotten the end zone yet, and where's a good spot we can get a guy that you're expecting to score touchdowns into the end zone. So I actually looked to Monday night. So we might have to wait on this one, boys, to see what happens. I'm taking Breece Hall in the first Monday night game against the Miami Dolphins. Yet to score this year for the Jets. Looks like Justin Fields is progressing, could play against the Dolphins on Monday night. I like his odds a little bit better with Fields in. I think Fields' legs open up some space for Breece, but he's a component in the passing game and he's a component in the rushing game. I know they've been using Braylon Allen a bit more, but I do think Breece Hall is bound to find the end zone, and I think the Miami Dolphins are a great team to go against when looking to find the end zone. So I got Breece Hall plus 116.
Nice. Breece Hall in for our first TD score. Pat, what about you?
I've got 3 circled and none of them have a plus sign. I am a chicken. I'm a coward, but I mean, it's been working for me. It's a parlay, right? Like we put a few of these numbers together. Heck, we won with a chalky pick for myself last week. I kind of want to run it back. With Jordan Mason, considering he was 145 last week. He's down to minus 112. If we're cool with running it back and picking the same thing, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm cool with that. It'll be early in the morning. Give us a reason to flip that game on in Dublin and watch that game. I also just think that, KOC is going to want to hand the ball off as much as possible, not allow Carson Wentz to make any mistakes in the red zone. So I like Mason at minus 112. If we want to get a different perspective or a different player that we haven't picked already, I got 2 other ones in the holster. Jake, you're not going to like it. One's very chalky. The one's kind of chalky.
Well, here, hit us with them. But I think the Mason is a great pick. It's close to even money. But what are the other 2?
The other one is Jonathan Taylor minus 185, and that's just because he has been absolute automatic. If there was any thought last year like this guy was done and ran out of gas and the injury bug was catching up, you can absolutely pass on that. Even though I think the Colts have a step back spot, I still think Taylor is going to find the back of the end zone. And the other one is Josh Allen minus 135. That's the best number that I've seen this touchdown at in the market, bar none. Some other books are hanging a minus 165 or minus 155. A Coolbet right now, you can get it at a minus 135. Huss, while we were in the green room before this, you did bring up a good point. If it is going to be a blowout, how much is Josh Allen going to really risk himself? Well, I replied with Josh Allen always puts himself in dangerous situations. Mind you, starting to learn a little more, but I could see, him finding a way in the red zone, whether it's a bootleg or a broken play or even a designed run, him finding the end zone. So those are my 2 other picks, but I think Mason, even though it's the shortest number, I think this actually might be my favorite of the 3.
Yeah, listen, I was thinking Mason as well. So let's throw that one in there. And as I said, it's, we'll be on the Vikings and we'll be on Mason. Hopefully get off to a great start on the Sunday with the early game. Hit a couple Ryder Cup picks at the same point, and then get ready for the rest of the NFL slate. I have a couple. Mason was there for me. Obviously, that's gone, so I'll pick a different guy. Got 2 other ones. I think the game, the play that I'm going to go with. Well, put it this way: the one that I was thinking about, Jake, and I'll get your thoughts on this. Travion Henderson. Like, I'm expecting a good game from the New England Patriots, and I think that they get back to business. Henderson's pretty intriguing at plus 166. Bigger number, certainly will make it bigger. But I just think that I think they should be giving it to him more, considering Ramondre Stevenson's butterfingers these days. But I think where I'm going to go is a guy and a team that absolutely has to have it. The Houston Texans were the favorite to win this division at minus money at the beginning of the season. They are now 3 full games behind the Indianapolis Colts. And good news for them, they've got the Tennessee Titans coming into town. The one consistent thing of the Houston Texans offense is Nico Collins. He had a 50-yarder last week. He's going to be seeing a ton of balls. He's at plus 123 at home against a Titans team that, even as bad as the Texans have started, I don't think is on pace, on the same par with them. To me, this is a get-right game for the Texans, for CJ Stroud. And if that happens, more often than not, it means a big game for Nico Collins. There's nobody else on that Texans team you can really look at as reliable and as big a part of the offense week in and week out as Nico Collins. So plus 123, Nico Collins anytime touchdown. We'll get a little plus money and try and juice this thing up a little bit more.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, I think the number's going to look real nice. Mason, Collins, and then Breece Hall. A couple plus money picks there. Yeah, Henderson, I hear you, Huss. Like, I'm waiting for something to happen with him. Obviously, you don't, waste draft stock on a guy like that, not to give him some more opportunity. But even when he's been running the ball, like, he hasn't been that impressive. I don't know. There was some weird stat I was reading earlier about, his yards per attempt, and I don't know. I'm waiting to see what happens with Henderson. I think we give him another week to kind of, slowly move into that lead back role. But for some reason, Vrabel isn't as comfortable going to him just yet as I think a lot of Patriots fans expected. So we'll see.
No, well, I mean, looking at his numbers right now, like Drake May's got more rushing yards than him. Drake May has as many rushing yards as he's tied for the lead right now. That's absolutely insane. I mean, when you look at it, though, I think when you and again, I know college and the pros are completely different. Henderson, he's been a part of where he's been a feature back. He's been a part of where he's the bell cow and gets all the carries. He's a guy that is he's explosive. Like at one point, boom, he's going to break one off and you can't stop him. You just haven't seen that explosiveness. Maybe this is like the old Patriot way, like we've seen with Bill Belichick, like until you earn that trust. Vrabel, obviously, maybe implementing the same thing of what he learned through the Patriot way with Bill Belichick. I think that maybe is exactly what's happened here. But I mean, Stevenson's doing everything in his power to hand the job over to him, and we're still not seeing it. So it's just kind of weird to me that the passing of the torch hasn't happened yet.
Well, that's kind of why I'm feeling to get ahead of it this week. And I think I'll back myself. I'll just make a single play, but let's go with that. And listen, before you guys work your magic with a little boost, Collins at plus 123, Mason at minus 112, and Breece Hall at plus 116. It's plus 812. So we'll be looking at probably 9-1 on this baby. And let's see if we can go back to back at about twice the odds as we cashed last week. Which brings us now to some parlays, guys. And I think the partner parlay looks pretty clear. We've got two guys on the Packers at minus 6.5. We have two guys on the Minnesota Vikings at 2.5, and we've got two guys on the Los Angeles Rams at 3.5. Is it as easy as that? Putting those two, and then together?
Two on the Pats, but depends on what you like better. I mean, I'm good with those three.
I love the Pats. As I said, I mean, I'm fine. Well, actually, I mean, because Pat has both the Packers and the Vikings. I have all three of those teams. Jake, you have the Rams and New England. I will, full disclosure, I actually had the Patriots before. Well, and I didn't pick the Rams. And I do think the Rams are probably a good bet. Although Indy has been a great story so far this season. And I mean, like, think about the Denver game. They played them tight right to the end. Another really, really good defense, a much better defense overall, at least by the numbers, than the Rams. I mean, I think the Rams are, they might be somewhat beat up after that game too. Like, will they win? Yes. I guess there's a chance that could be a good game. I think New England smashes Carolina. That is sort of where I'm at.
I have an idea. 4 game. Because we have a Sunday night football Well, I have 2 Sunday Night Football props. Patty has 1, and you guys like the Packers. I think there's Patty.
The dog's barking. Dogs are barking.
Oh, that's no good for the Packers. So we include 2 Sunday Night Football props and the Packers as our Sunday Night Football parlay. And then we go Rams, Patriots, Vikings as our Sunday spreads parlay.
I can get behind that.
Don't have to twist my arm.
So I think what we'll do is for our prop parlay, we'll do your other prop, Patty, my other prop, and then James Cook, which I think is fine. So we just have to decide which one do you guys like better for the Sunday Night Football parlay. Do you guys like Ferguson over receptions or Golden over yards?
Well, I think we should probably put the Ferguson on the Sunday night one because having Love yards with Golden reception yards is going to be so close. I don't know that changes.
Plus Green Bay, that's not going to do a whole lot for us. I agree. I totally agree. You're right.
Yeah. So we go. So for the Sunday nighter, it's going to be Pack minus 6.5. Love over 230.5 and Ferguson over 6.5. The partner parlay is going to be Rams minus 3.5. We'll go Patriots 4.5.
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah, let's do that.
I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Those numbers are all weird.
But if we have to have it on a side, and we may as well take it on the other side. And then Minnesota minus 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
And then our prop play for Sunday is going to be Golden, Baker, and James Cook.
Perfect.
Pat, what was the Baker one? TDs?
Rush yard.
Rush yard. That's what I was sorry. Yeah.
Cook rush
said
yard.
Baker, the touchdown maker, and I couldn't stop thinking about you guys.
Cook rush
He's
yard.
the first down maker now.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
The rush yards over maker. So Golden, Baker, and Cook for the prop parlay, and then of course we'll have that Sunday nighter with the Packers, Love, and Ferguson up as well in the combo cards. Patty, I guess you had to go back in the survivor pool thanks to the Green Bay Packers.
Yep.
Jake, you and I still alive so far.
Staying alive.
Pat, where you now? You're back to the drawing board on this one. Shout out to the Ironheads; they get another $20 from you. What is your? Where are you going for Survivor?
So this is I want to get on top of my soapbox, a PSA, because I've always said this before when it comes to Survivor picks. Too many times people galaxy brand themselves, look 3-4 weeks ahead, say, well, I can't take this team now because in a couple of weeks they've got a really good matchup here. Or, they're on a bye that week. I got to use them here. No. Don't do that. Just week by week. Survivor pool, survive in advance. Well, I didn't take my own advice. I looked ahead of the schedule, saw this week number 4, and looked and said, the Bills are playing the Saints. Bills, Jets, that's going to be close. It'll get sketchy. I don't know. No. Let's see. The Green Bay. Yeah, Green Bay's rolling right now. The Browns have a great defense, but it's Joe Flacco. Nope. Well, look what happened. I played myself. Luckily, shout out the West Durham Ironheads. You get a buy-in back to their survivor pool. I'm going to be funding new jerseys next year at this point for how many times I'm going to have to buy back in. But hey, I buy back in, and I'm going to go with my original pick. I did galaxy brain myself and said I'd take the Saints or go against the Saints this week and take the Bills. Everyone knows I don't like picking my favorite team, but I'm going to take the easy pick. I'm going to take the biggest spread on the board and not get ahead of myself. Give me the Bills for my survivor pick.
All right. Pat is with the Bills. They're a massive favorite. I say this now, there's no chance they lose this game. Clip
There's
that.
a chance.
But I don't expect it. Jake, what about you?
Yeah, it's funny. Pat just did a whole rant about like not looking ahead. And, I'm in this pool with my buddies, and my one buddy is like, he's addicted to looking ahead and like talking to ChatGPT, like what makes a lot of sense, like what weeks do you want to hold teams for? And he kind of does all the work, and I just go, yeah, it kind of makes sense to me. So I was on the Seahawks last week. Still got some great teams. Like the Bills, I think, are in a great spot this week. Take care of business, move on to week 5. I'm not making it easy on myself. This team can't afford another loss. I'm taking the Texans at home against the Titans. So.
My God.
Listen, I'm addicted to Texans football. I had them last week. They're one of my favorite bets of the week. They lost outright to the Jags. This is the week. This is my Texans. They're beating up on Cam Ward. The defense for the Texans, I think by all accounts, has been pretty solid. I mean, you think about the Bucs game, you think about last week against the Jags, like the defense hasn't been the problem, even against the Rams. And the Rams, that's a good team. The offense has been ugly. We got Collins scoring a touchdown. I'm taking the Texans as my survivor pick.
Yeah, I mean, they're 7-point favorites right now, which, I was a little surprised that it's this big.
The Pat reaction. We're going to have to have that clipped.
And listen,
you can't quit them, man. You can't quit them.
I'm addicted to Texans.
I'm done. I'm done with the Texans. Never will make a spread pick ever again. I'll take them in my survivor pool, though.
Just got to win.
For survivor, I was thinking Bills and then realized that I picked them already. I picked them last week. I put them in. Now, I guess I didn't pick them on the show.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I guess with our show, I still have Buffalo, but I'm not going to pick them this week. I am going to Monday night, and I'm going to use the Denver Broncos, 7.5-point favorites at home against the Cincinnati Bengals. Listen, the Broncos probably should be 3-0. I mean, they have losses to the Colts and losses last week to the Chargers. Huge game in the division that didn't go their way. They can't afford to get to 1-3. Cincinnati, without Joe Burrow, is just a shell of themselves right now. So I feel pretty good about the Denver Broncos getting it done, at least winning on the money line against the Cincinnati Bengals on the weekend. So
imagine you're Jake Browning, right? And you got to go take on the Vikings defense, which is an absolute nightmare. We saw last week. I think the whole offense for the Bengals was seeing ghosts. And then you follow that up by having to go play the Broncos defense in Denver. I mean, not a great place to have to come in relief for Joe Burrow. I don't envy Jake Browning right now.
Do we honestly, guys? Do we think like at some point the Bengals decide to trade for a quarterback? Like, do they pick up the phone, try to call like the Falcons to get a guy like Cousins?
I think the money's the problem with Cousins, right? Like it's so much money to take on. What about Jameis?
That's what I was just gonna say. I know the PMT boys have been asking for Jameis. Like, how much fun would Jameis be on that Bengals team?
Dude, I think he'd throw 30 TDs easy with Chase and Higgins.
And probably 30 interceptions.
Yeah, he'd go 30 for 30 again.
Russie, maybe? He's available. He's I'm
done with Russell Wilson football.
Yes, but how about Russie with a moon ball to Chase?
I do have Chase in one of my leagues. I would love some Russie to Chase.
2 leagues. Oh. 2 leagues. 2 leagues. I picked them first overall. I'm still somehow in first place in my other league. The other one, I'm done. I'm 0-3. I'm awful. I'm projected to win every single week. And then I get the wheels beaten off me. It's unbelievable.
It's so funny. I was just putting this in to see what that 3-gamer would be, just money line parlay for the survivor picks. And Houston and Denver together is minus 174. Houston's minus 370. Denver's minus 417. The Bills are minus 1429. If you just adding the Bills to that only takes it from 174 to minus 146.
Oh my!
So if you can cook something up with that, go for it. I think it catches. I think it catches this week. But again, that's what Survivor's about: surviving and advancing. We're still good so far, and we'll see where it goes from there. This has been a fun show, guys, and what a weekend we've got between and Coolbet. Man, it's busy. Playoff races in the majors. Hopefully the Jays can turn things around against Tampa and finish on top of the AL East and get that bye. Otherwise, we'll be sweating wildcard games early next week. And, of course, we've got Ryder Cup, 4-ball and foursomes on Friday and Saturday, and then the singles matches. Keep your eyes on the combo cards if you're into it. We'll put together certainly something for the singles matches on Sunday, and there'll be more to come. And if you're getting this before they tee off, well, I guess that won't be the case. But, there'll be updated stuff in the combo cards throughout, and, of course, live odds as soon as the matchups are dropped for Ryder Cup and everything that we just cooked up. The touchdown parlay, our props, the partner parlay for our spread picks will all be up there with a nice little boost for you, WSTers and cool bettors that join us on WST Winners. And hey, next week, we're going to be doing WST Winners for baseball. We've got hockey coming up. There is so much more coming up, so make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and check out WST Winners as a separate podcast feed if you just want the betting content as it comes out. Pat, Jake, great stuff. This is going to be one of the best sports weekends of the year. Let's hope the gods can pay us back for some of the atrocities committed to our picks last week in week 3, and we can get another nice TD score parlay and maybe cash a couple more of these. It's going to be a lot of fun. Fellas, enjoy the Ryder Cup, the NFL, and it all.
Arkansas, Notre Dame this weekend. Saturday is going to be an interesting one.
Line?
We'll see. Patty and I are even talking by Monday. We'll see.
What's the line in that game?
I haven't even looked. Patty, you know off the top of your head?
I think it's like 4.5. Notre Dame's favorite on the road. Well, yeah.
I'm checking right now. It's nerve-wracking, man. Arkansas just lost a gross one to Memphis. But they're live that quarter. Yeah, 4.5. Notre Dame's favored right now. And they can't really afford another loss at this point of the season. So it'll be an interesting one. Like I said, we'll see if Patty and I are even talking by Sunday.
Throw another great college game Saturday afternoon, LSU and Ole Miss in Mississippi. Did you see this thing where Lane Kiffin's daughter hard launched her relationship with the star linebacker for LSU that week? Only in college football. It just means more in the SEC. It does.
The SEC, man. It's some people are saying it's LSU's got the mental edge, and Ole Miss fans are saying no. This is intel. We've got inside knowledge of what's going on now. It's this is the best. But as you talk about it, it's also Alabama, Georgia, and Oregon, Penn State. Night games as well. Like Saturday, it could go down as an all-time sports, all-time viewing experience. Like you mentioned, those college games, you've got Ryder Cup, you've got CFL, absolutely loaded. Great weekend to be a cool better, terrible weekend to be a couch.
Good stuff, fellas. Have a great weekend. Thanks again to Connor Rabchak for making it happen. He disagrees with Jake's Jags plus 3.5. I can guarantee
Sorry, Connor.
That. But great stuff, folks. Hit us up at Coolbet Canada, at Jake Bolin Moss, at P. Greggy, at Hustlerama on X, and make sure to join us next week for more additional content here with WST Winners, brought to you by Coolbet on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Enjoy.